Commander Vexlar peers through the observation deck as his scout vessel orbits the blue-green world, fascination growing with each data point his team collects. The humans below demonstrate remarkable adaptability. Their planet spans extreme environments, yet they thrive everywhere. His compound eyes narrow as he watches visual feeds from deserts where humans build thriving cities, from frigid wastelands where they establish research stations, from ocean depths where their submersibles explore. Extraordinary resilience, he mutters, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. And their technological progression rate is concerning. Science Officer Nayalter floats to his side, her hover membrane pulsing gently. We've intercepted thousands of their entertainment broadcasts. They're obsessed with scenarios where they defeat technologically superior invaders. Fiction, of course, but indicative of their psychological makeup. Vexlar finishes. Add it to the report. His report to Imperial High Command is unambiguous. Exercise extreme caution with this species. Despite their technological limitations, humans demonstrate unprecedented adaptation rates, decentralized innovation mechanisms, and psychological preparedness for interspecies conflict. Recommendation: extended observation period before contact. The response comes swiftly, flagged with High Commander Jorath's personal cipher. Observations noted. Proceed with standard Class 3 integration protocol. Resource surveys indicate valuable heavy metals and biological diversity. The Emperor requires expansion into this sector within the standard cycle. Vexlar's skin flushes a deep purple, the physiological equivalent of a psi. Another primitive world to be processed, another species to be subjugated for the greater glory of the hegemony. Yet something about these humans troubles him deeply. 3 solar cycles later, the diplomatic vessel descends toward the human structure designated United Nations headquarters. Vexlar stands behind Ambassador Kexti, whose elaborate ceremonial armor gleams under Earth's yellow sun. The gathered humans, representatives from their fractured global governance system, watch impassively as translator drones hover above the assembly. People of Earth, the ambassador begins, his voice rendered in all major human languages simultaneously. The galactic hegemony welcomes you into the embrace of civilization. For 10,000 cycles, we have brought order and advancement to worthy species across the galaxy. Vexlar watches the humans' expressions during the Imperial Ambassador's speech, not fear or awe, but something far more dangerous, calculated patience. His peripheral vision sensors detect subtle hand signals between military officials at the back of the chamber. Data exchanges occurring through primitive electronic devices beneath the table. As a Class 3 developing world, the ambassador continues, you will benefit from imperial protection and technological guidance. Your natural resources will, of course, contribute to the greater prosperity of the hegemony. Within a few generations, the most adaptable among you may qualify for limited citizenship. The speech continues, outlining Earth's privileged future within the hegemony, the same speech delivered on 100 worlds before. When Ambassador Kexti finally finishes, the human representative, a female designated Secretary General, rises slowly. We appreciate your generous offer, she states, each word measured carefully. Our world will require time to consider these terms. Ambassador Kexti waves a dismissive limb. Of course, 3 standard cycles should be sufficient for your leaders to implement acceptance protocols. The Secretary General's expression doesn't change, but Vexlar notices her pupils contract slightly. And if we find your terms unacceptable? The ambassador laughs, a chittering sound that his translator renders inappropriately. I assure you, all species ultimately find our terms acceptable. The alternatives are less comfortable. I see. The Secretary General straightens, her voice dropping to a tone that sends an instinctive warning pulse through Vexlar's threat receptors. Then understand something fundamental about us. Earth doesn't give second chances. The ambassador laughs politely, mandibles spread in the hegemony gesture of dealing with amusing primitives, while Vexlar alone notices how the human's eyes remain cold and evaluating. As they return to their vessel, Vexler makes a personal notation in his secure data file. They're already preparing for war. Admiral Jorath strides across his command deck, irritation evident in his chittering subvocals. The massive viewscreen displays the blue-green world rotating serenely below, seemingly unchanged since first contact. 3 local months have passed with nothing but polite deflections from the humans. His claw taps rhythmically against the metallic sheen of his ceremonial armor, a gesture his subordinates recognize as dangerous impatience. "Commander Telvac, status of the human communications," he demands. The intelligence officer's membranes flutter nervously. "Unchanged, Admiral." Their United Nations continues to request extensions for consideration, citing the complexity of their fractured governance system. "Primitives," Jorath hisses. "They waste our time with bureaucratic delays while we could be processing 3 other systems in this sector." Unknown to him, beneath mountains, oceans, and desert wastelands, humanity's reverse engineering efforts have progressed at an astonishing pace. The hegemony's supposedly undetectable surveillance satellites have been mapped, their transmissions decoded, their weaknesses identified. In Tokyo, 16-year-old prodigy Haruki Tanaka adjusts her custom-built frequency analyzer, her eyes widening as patterns emerge from the seemingly random Imperial shield modulations. "Professor," she calls, not looking away from her screen. "I think I've found something." Their shields cycle through predictable harmonic sequences every 12.7 seconds. In Bangalore, engineers at a hastily assembled international research facility fabricate prototype weapons based on theoretical applications the Imperials never pursued. Dr. Ravindran holds up a seemingly simple projectile, its core glowing with an eerie blue light. The alien material science is impressive, he explains to watching military officials. But they've never combined these particular elements with our tungsten carbide alloys. The resonance effect should be quite dramatic. In Brazil, beneath the Amazon rainforest, a quantum computing array larger than a football field runs day and night, simulating Imperial tactical responses with frightening accuracy. Dr. Sofia Costa watches as the simulation completes its billionth iteration. "They always followed tactical doctrine," she murmurs. 5,000 years of unopposed expansion has made them predictable. Aboard the Imperial flagship, Science Officer Naal Tur reviews her surveillance data with growing unease. "Admiral, I've detected unusual power signatures from several terrestrial locations. Energy patterns inconsistent with their technological level. Expected developments," Jorath dismisses without looking at her report. "Primitive species often accelerate technological development when exposed to superior civilizations. Nothing concerning." "But sir," the pattern suggests. "Enough." The Admiral's feeding mandibles clack sharply. "I didn't request speculation, officer. Prepare the diplomatic shuttle. It's time to deliver our ultimatum." In Washington, D.C., inside a bunker 200 meters beneath the White House, Earth's Unified Defense Council receives the Imperial request for another meeting. General Williams looks around the table at representatives from 27 nations. They're getting impatient. Phase 1 preparations complete, comes the Chinese general's curt reply. "Phase 2, asks Williams. 87% and accelerating, responds the Russian representative. The targeting systems are synchronized. Then we proceed as planned. As Jorath delivers his ultimatum to Earth's representatives, submit or witness a demonstration of imperial power, the human delegates exchange subtle glances. Their response comes not in words but in actions. 17 imperial satellites simultaneously explode in orbit, followed by a counter-ultimatum delivered with unsettling calm by the Secretary General. "Your surveillance network has been disabled. This is your only warning. Leave our system. Now." The Admiral's exoskeleton flushes deep crimson, a physiological response his species evolved for territorial combat. "You dare," he sputters, composure fracturing. "You understand nothing of the power you challenge." "Perhaps," the Secretary General responds, her face expressionless. But we understand enough. The Admiral's rage manifests as a targeting order transmitted directly from his neural implant to the fleet. The rebellious humans will learn their place with fire from the heavens. As his shuttle ascends, Commander Vexlar watches the human delegation through the viewport, struck by their calm in the face of imminent destruction. They didn't beg. They didn't panic. They simply prepared. New Zealand burns. Imperial precision strikes vaporize Auckland, Wellington, and Christchurch in displays of overwhelming firepower meant to terrify humanity into submission. The kinetic bombardment, simple asteroids fitted with guidance systems, strikes with the force of small nuclear weapons, but without radiation, a merciful demonstration of imperial might. In Sydney, Australia, 8-year-old Mira clutches her mother's hand as they watch neighboring New Zealand's destruction on wall-sized screens. Why are they hurting those people? She asks, tears streaming down her face. Her mother has no answer, only a hardening resolve reflected in millions of homes across the planet. In orbital defense stations disguised as weather satellites, targeting systems silently lock onto Imperial vessels. Captain Sarah Chen watches her tactical display aboard the International Space Station, now secretly retrofitted with alien-derived technology. All Hornet swarms report ready, her lieutenant confirms. Lunar launch facility standing by. Commence Operation Hornet's Nest. Chen orders, her voice steady despite knowing the odds. For New Zealand, Admiral Jorath reclines in his command throne, satisfaction evident in the cyan coloration spreading across his facial membranes. The demonstration proceeded perfectly. Precise destruction limited to 3 urban centers, enough to prove imperial power, but restrained enough to leave the planet's resources intact. Prepare targeting solutions for Phase 2, he commands. The human leadership centers in Washington, Moscow, and Beijing will be next. After those are eliminated, they'll have no choice but to. Admiral. His sensor officer interrupts, mandibles clicking rapidly in alarm. Multiple launches detected from Earth's moon. Impossible, Jorath dismisses. Our survey showed no lunar installations. The tactical display updates, showing hundreds of small objects accelerating toward the Imperial fleet. Jorath chittiers in amusement. Primitive projectiles. Maintain standard shield configurations. Let them exhaust their pathetic arsenal. Commander Vexlar, monitoring from a secondary command station, notices something odd about the incoming signatures. Sir, these readings suggest unusual energy patterns. I recommend. Your recommendations have wasted enough of my time, Commander. Jorath cuts him off. Observe how ineffective their response will be. The swarm of Hornet attack drones, each barely larger than a human torpedo, but incorporating elements of Imperial technology, approaches the fleet at tremendous velocity. Admiral Jorath watches with dismissive confidence as they near his defensive perimeter. The primitive projectiles approaching his fleet should be insignificant, easily deflected by Imperial shields. Instead, they pass through as if the barriers aren't there. The first explosion rocks the Imperial destroyer Inevitable Conquest, then another, and another. The specially designed warheads, incorporating the frequency vulnerability discovered by Haruki in Tokyo, penetrate shields calibrated to stop conventional attacks, detonating against hull plating with devastating effectiveness. Shields failing, cries the tactical officer aboard the destroyer Righteous Subjugation. Unknown radiation spreading through critical systems. 3 destroyers list in orbit, their systems failing as strange radiation, a hybrid of human nuclear technology and Imperial power systems, spreads through critical components. Jorath stares in disbelief as secondary explosions ripple across his vanguard fleet. Impossible, he whispers, all 4 hands gripping his command console. They're primitives. In military bases worldwide, generals stare in disbelief at the confirmation. The weapons worked better than anticipated. Operation Hornet's Nest has drawn first blood, but the true battle has only begun. In the White House Situation Room, The President of the United States watches the tactical display with grim determination. "How soon until their main fleet arrives?" she asks. "4 days, Madam President," General Williams answers. "Maybe 5. She nods once, decisively. "Then we have 4 days to prepare our next surprise. Activate all Phase 3 protocols immediately." Her eyes harden as she looks at the images of devastation from New Zealand. "And send a message to all allied nations. The Empire has made its choice. Now they'll learn about ours." The Imperial battle fleet emerges from hyperspace at the system's edge, a breathtaking array of destructive power that has subjugated 1,000 worlds. Over 300 vessels arranged in the traditional hegemony combat formation, an interlocking geometric pattern that has remained unchanged for millennia, because nothing had ever challenged its effectiveness. Admiral Jorath, his flagship repaired, stands rigid on the command deck. The humiliation of the previous engagement burns within him like acid. Never in his 3-century career had a primitive species drawn imperial blood. The punishment would be appropriately severe. "Full tactical display," he commands, voice cold with controlled fury. "I want every human defensive asset identified and targeted." The holographic projection materializes, showing Earth's orbital space cluttered with satellites, debris, and primitive space stations. Intelligence Officer Telvac manipulates the display with practiced gestures. Threat assessment indicates minimal orbital defenses. "Admiral, their successful attack appears to have exhausted their limited technological capabilities." In the White House Situation Room, the President receives the desperate message transmitted through captured Imperial communications technology. Commander Vexlar, now imprisoned aboard the Imperial flagship for his continued warnings about human capabilities, had managed to send one final warning. They come with planet killers. The Admiral intends total sterilization. Scientists and military leaders exchange determined looks. They've prepared for this possibility. "Activate the Chimera Protocol," the President orders. "All units, all assets." Earth's stratosphere shimmers as thousands of orbital platforms shed their camouflage. What appeared as debris, defunct satellites, and ordinary weather stations transform. Unfurling solar arrays, weapon systems, and shield generators cobbled together from human innovation and reverse-engineered alien tech. Dr. Sofia Costa monitors the quantum predictive system beneath the Amazon. They're following standard Imperial approach patterns. She confirms over the secure channel. Deployment exactly as simulated. "Execute targeting solutions," General Williams orders. "Remember your training. Their shields modulate on a predictable cycle. Time your attacks precisely. When the Imperial fleet advances, they encounter not primitive resistance, but an elegant synthesis of technologies they never imagined combining. The first wave of Earth's defense consists of seemingly primitive nuclear missiles, technology the Empire hadn't used in 8,000 years. Telvac dismisses them contemptuously. "Radiation-based weapons, Admiral. Standard shields are more than adequate. But these aren't standard nuclear weapons. Each warhead contains a quantum-entangled core, a technology the Empire considered theoretical at best. When they detonate against Imperial shields, the exotic particles bypass the barriers entirely, appearing instantaneously inside the protected space through quantum tunneling. 5 Imperial cruisers shudder under impacts that should have been impossible. Secondary explosions ripple across their hulls as internal systems cascade into failure. Impossible. Jorath roars, his exoskeleton flushing crimson with rage. How are they penetrating our shields? Most shocking of all, human pilots in hastily constructed hybrid fighters, cobbled together from Earth aerospace technology and salvaged Imperial components, outmaneuver alien ships with centuries of refinement. Captain Miguel Santos, former Brazilian Air Force, pushes his WASP interceptor into a maneuver that would kill most humans. The gravitational compensators, reverse-engineered and improved by human engineers, allow him to survive forces that would reduce a body to paste. Their targeting systems can't track us if we stay within 20 meters of their hull. He broadcasts to his squadron. They never designed for enemies to get this close. From his prison cell, Vexlar listens to the panicked communications flooding the Imperial network and feels a strange pride for the humans. They've accomplished in months what most species couldn't in decades. Through the small viewport, he watches as another Imperial destroyer lists helplessly, its engines dark, gravity generators failing. A human vessel, crude but effective, approaches it, latching on like a parasite to capture even more Imperial technology. "We should have listened," he whispers to himself. "They warned us." While Imperial attention focuses on the orbital battle, a stolen Imperial shuttle approaches the command carrier's blind spot. The massive vessel, 5 kilometers of weaponized alloys and energy systems, dwarfs the approaching craft like a whale beside a minnow. The shuttle's hull has been hastily repainted with Imperial markings, its transponder broadcasting maintenance codes captured during the first engagement. Inside, Major Elena Chen and her multinational strike team perform final weapons checks. Each soldier carries dual technology weapons, reliable human firearms alongside reverse-engineered energy weapons. Russian Spetsnaz operator Dmitry adjusts his captured Imperial plasma rifle, nodding to Israeli Commando Levy beside him. British SAS, Chinese Snow Leopard Commandos, American Delta Force. 20 of Earth's finest warriors selected not just for skill, but for cognitive adaptability. Remember, Chen broadcasts through their neural-linked comms, technology adapted from captured Imperial hardware. "We have one shot at this. The Empire has never been infiltrated. They have no internal security protocols because they've never needed them." Their mission appears suicidal: infiltrate the 5-kilometer-long Imperial flagship and disable its command systems. But humanity has staked everything on this gambit. The stolen security codes grant them access to a maintenance dock designed for service drones. As the artificial gravity engages, Chen feels the familiar disorientation that comes with the transition. 90 seconds to insertion, the pilot announces. Imperial systems still register us as Maintenance Unit KX-119. Chen nods, her expression betraying nothing of the fear that churns beneath her calm exterior. Intelligence suggested the command carrier controlled the targeting data for the entire fleet. Disable it, and Earth might gain precious time to evacuate more civilians from likely strike zones. Through maintenance corridors designed for service drones, the team infiltrates deeper than any non-Imperial species has ever penetrated into a command carrier. The alien architecture, built for creatures with different proportions and needs, feels oppressive and disorienting. They navigate by following conduits that intelligence identified as leading to central command functions. "Contact," whispers Sergeant Jackson, the team's point man. 2 maintenance drones, and what looks like a security officer. When alien security forces respond to the unexpected intruders, they discover too late what makes human soldiers unique in the galaxy. Combined arms tactical flexibility honed through millennia of warfare against equally intelligent opponents. Jackson's silenced rifle drops the officer before an alarm can be raised. 2 more shots disable the maintenance drones. But the deeper they penetrate, the more resistance they encounter. In a junction that their captured schematics identify as a secondary data processing hub, they face their first real opposition. Imperial security forces, 8-limbed warriors in articulated armor, emerge from connecting corridors. "Take cover," Chen shouts as energy weapons discharge, superheating the air. 3 of her team fall in the first exchange, their bodies contorting as alien energy tears through combat armor designed for human weapons. The strike team suffers losses but achieves their objective, fighting room by room toward the central command nexus. Lieutenant Kim, their technology specialist, works frantically at an Imperial terminal, his fingers dancing across the alien interface as Chen and remaining team members hold off waves of increasingly organized defenders. "I've got it," Kim shouts, his face illuminated by the alien script scrolling across the screen. "Transmitting the flagship's complete tactical database to Earth now." Sabotage the engines. Shen orders, firing another burst that drops an advancing Imperial officer. We need to buy Earth more time. From his burning bridge, Admiral Jorath watches in disbelief as human weapons target precisely the weaknesses his ship's systems are now broadcasting to the enemy. System after system fails as Earth's defensive platforms exploit the tactical data they should never have possessed. How? He demands, mandibles clicking in agitation. How are they predicting every countermeasure? His question is answered as Elena Chen herself enters the command deck, plasma rifle humming with lethal energy. Behind her, the few surviving members of her team secure the entrance. Her face, streaked with alien blood and soot, shows no triumph, only grim determination. "Remember," she says calmly, leveling her weapon at the Admiral's thorax. "We warned you." Ripples across the stars. The High Council chambers have never seen such chaos. The vaulted ceiling, inlaid with precious metals from 1,000 conquered worlds, echoes with the shouted arguments of counselors whose species evolved in environments as varied as methane swamps and silicon deserts. Advisors shout over one another as strategic projections display the catastrophic loss of an entire battle fleet to a world that shouldn't have been capable of downing even a single Imperial corvette. "Impossible," roars Counselor Drex, his crystalline exoskeleton vibrating with rage. "Our technology is millennia beyond these primitives. This report must be propaganda. The TACnet signatures are authentic," counters Science Minister Kala, her tendrils waving in agitation. 63 capital ships lost, including the flagship Indomitable Destiny. No survivable escape pods detected. The Empress herself sits silent upon her raised dais, eyes fixed on Commander Vexlar, the only survivor returned from the human conflict. His rescue pod had been discovered drifting near Jupiter, launched before the flagship's destruction. For 3 cycles, he'd been subjected to intensive interrogation, both to verify his loyalty and to extract every detail of the human resistance. "Explain," she finally commands, her harmonic voice cutting through the chamber like a blade, silencing all others instantly. "How does a primitive, pre-FTL species defeat our most experienced battle group?" Vexlar steps forward, his carapace still bearing scars from his imprisonment aboard the flagship. Unlike the other counselors, he speaks quietly, forcing them to strain to hear his words. "We mistook technological development for civilization's capacity. Humans have spent their history perfecting warfare against themselves. They think in ways we've forgotten." He activates a holodisplay, showing captured footage of the battle. "Observe how they adapted our shield technology within weeks of encountering it, how they identified vulnerabilities our engineers never considered, because no enemy has challenged us in millennia." "What of their planetary defenses now?" asks Fleet Admiral Taverner, mandibles clicking nervously. "Growing stronger by the day," Vexlar responds. "They're not just copying our technology, they are improving it. Their rate of innovation exceeds anything in our historical records." Back on Earth, factories from Shanghai to Detroit convert to war production at unprecedented speed. The global economy, transformed overnight to a war footing, channels all resources toward defense and space capabilities. Yum Haruki, now heading a multinational research team despite being only 16, supervises testing of second-generation shield systems that incorporate improvements her team developed after studying captured Imperial technology. The frequency modulation is 30% more efficient than the Imperial design, she explains to visiting military officials. Their engineers stopped innovating centuries ago. They just kept building the same designs bigger. Shipyards constructed in Earth orbit, and the asteroid belt lay the keels for vessels, incorporating both human imagination and Imperial technology. Mining operations throughout the solar system extract resources at a frantic pace, converting asteroids into weaponry and defensive platforms. The first human FTL prototype, Phoenix, prepares for its test flight. Its engines a hybrid of Imperial principles and human engineering that Imperial scientists would consider heretical in their efficiency. In research facilities worldwide, scientists crack the remaining secrets of Imperial technology, improving designs with human innovations the hegemony never considered. Dr. Ravindran presents his latest weapons prototype to the United Earth Defense Council, a gravity lance that can destabilize an Imperial capital ship's containment fields from twice the range of standard Imperial weapons. Most significantly, diplomatic channels established with captured Imperial communications arrays reveal an unexpected truth. Many worlds under Imperial control have endured subjugation for centuries, waiting for an opportunity that humanity has finally provided. We've received responses from 11 systems, reports Ambassador Reyes to the President. All express interest in alliance negotiations against the hegemony. Some have maintained underground resistance movements for generations. The President nods, examining the star chart where potential allied systems glow in hopeful green amidst the red expanse of Imperial territory. Then we're not alone in this fight. No, Madam President, Reyes confirms, a smile spreading across his face. We've become the spark that ignites a galactic rebellion. Ambassador Lai Wei stands before the Galactic Central Markets Neutral Council, her small human frame dwarfed by representatives of a dozen alien species. The ancient trading station, established millennia ago at the intersection of 3 major hyperlanes, has remained politically neutral throughout the hegemony's expansion, a place where even Imperial enemies could trade and negotiate under strict neutrality protocols. Behind her, captured Imperial data scrolls across translation screens, documenting centuries of atrocities against developing worlds. Footage shows ecological devastation on Proxima Centauri II, forced labor camps on Rigel Prime, and systematic resource stripping that left once verdant worlds barren husks. "We come not seeking sympathy," she declares, her voice carrying through the translation fields to each representative in their native tongue, but offering partnership. Earth stands against Imperial aggression, not just for ourselves, but for all who wish to breathe free. The diplomatic offensive catches the fragmented Imperial leadership completely unprepared. While they debated how to respond militarily to Earth, humans have exposed Imperial secrets, offered advanced defensive technology to subjugated worlds, and established alliance frameworks that threaten to unravel the hegemony completely. How can we trust these claims? Demands the Trashian representative, his 4 eyes blinking skeptically. Primitives often exaggerate to court favor from more advanced civilizations. Lai smiles, tapping a simple command into her datapad. The holographic display shifts to show the wreckage of Imperial ships drifting in Earth orbit. We are not here to beg, but to build. Earth has already demonstrated that Imperial technology is not invincible, merely uncontested, until now. We offer not just information, but protection. In the Vega system, Governor Pel Taxis receives the encrypted transmission with trembling appendages. For 3 centuries, his people have endured Imperial quotas that strip their world of resources and dignity. The message from Earth contains detailed schematics for shield harmonics that could protect Vegan ships from Imperial weapons, along with a simple question: are you ready for freedom? An Imperial colony world declares independence with Earth's backing. 3 more follow within a standard week. Each rebellion follows the same pattern: sudden shield and weapons upgrades neutralizing the local Imperial garrison, followed by declaration of sovereignty and immediate alliance with Earth. In the Imperial core worlds, the Empress summons her war council. How are they spreading their influence so quickly? She demands, her harmonics sharp with rage. Our communications should be impenetrable. They're using our own TACnet, your radiance, admits the intelligence director, his plumage flattened in submission. Somehow they've acquired encryption protocols that were supposedly secure. Messages are being transmitted through our network, disguised as routine administrative traffic. When the hastily assembled Imperial diplomatic fleet finally arrives in the Sol system to negotiate, they find not a single defiant planet, but the center of an emerging network of allied worlds. The Phoenix, Earth's first FTL vessel, has returned from successful diplomatic missions to 6 star systems, establishing military and technological exchanges with former Imperial subjects. Human ships, crude but effective hybrids of terrestrial and Imperial technology, patrol alongside vessels from newly liberated systems. The orbital shipyards around Earth and Mars gleam with activity, producing vessels incorporating design elements from a dozen worlds, each contributing their own innovations to the growing Alliance fleet. The Imperial delegation arrives with threats but departs with concessions, their leverage evaporating as reports confirm that Earth now controls several critical hyperlane junctions through its expanding Alliance network. The chief negotiator, Lord High Admiral Kev Naresh, finds himself outmaneuvered at every turn by Ambassador Lai. This is merely a temporary setback, he blusters as discussions conclude. The hegemony has stood for 10,000 years. Your alliance of malcontents cannot hope to stand against our full might. Lai Wei smiles politely, but her eyes remain hard. You misunderstand the situation, Admiral. We're not fighting to defeat you. We're fighting to replace you. And unlike the Empire, we understand the power of willing allies rather than subjugated servants. In just over a standard year, humanity has transformed from quarry to kingmaker in a rapidly changing galactic landscape. 5 years after first contact, Ambassador Vexlar, once commander, stands on the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's first major orbital diplomatic hub. The massive construct represents a fusion of architectural styles from 24 species, its graceful curves and soaring arches unlike anything in Imperial design philosophy. Through the transparent crystalline viewport, Earth gleams blue-green below, now protected by defense systems more advanced than anything in the former hegemony's arsenal. Representatives from 27 formerly Imperial worlds mingle with humans from every nation, negotiating trade deals, cultural exchanges, and security agreements. A group of Regilian scientists confer with Dr. Ravindran about advancements in medical technology that combine their biochemical expertise with human innovative approaches. Nearby, Haruki Tanaka, now 21 and heading Earth's Xenotechnology Integration Division, demonstrates shield harmonization techniques to engineers from 4 different species. Remarkable, isn't it? Asks a familiar voice beside him. Vexlar turns to find Elena Chen, now Earth's defense coordinator, the scar across her left cheek, a souvenir from her flagship infiltration mission, has become something of a symbol among Alliance military forces. I never imagined such integration could happen so quickly, Vexlar admits. The Empire spent millennia trying to homogenize the galaxy. You've united it while celebrating its diversity in just 5 years. Below, Earth glows blue-green, now protected by defense systems more advanced than anything in the former hegemony's arsenal. The technological gap hasn't fully closed. Humans still lag in some areas, but their innovative applications have revolutionized fields from medicine to computational theory across known space. The Phoenix Initiative exceeded all expectations, Chen says, gesturing to the shipyards where vessels of increasingly advanced design take shape. The original Phoenix hangs in a museum orbit nearby, its relatively primitive design already outpaced by third-generation human-alien hybrid technology. 43 worlds have joined the cooperative, with 12 more in negotiations. In the station's central chamber, final preparations take place for the most momentous diplomatic event in recent galactic history. The Empress herself has traveled to this station, the first time in 8 centuries a ruling Imperial has left the core worlds, to formalize the new Galactic Cooperative Charter with Earth as a founding member. Did you ever imagine this outcome when you first scanned our world? Chen asks. Vexlar's mandibles click in the equivalent of a rueful smile. I'd warned them you were dangerous. I just didn't realize you would be dangerous in precisely the way the galaxy needed. As Vexlar watches ships from a dozen worlds dock at humanity's orbital shipyards, he contemplates how thoroughly his warning was ignored and how completely it has been validated. The Imperial doctrine of technological supremacy and cultural homogeneity has given way to Earth's model of collaborative innovation, and mutual respect among diverse species. Throughout diplomatic chambers across the galaxy, representatives remind potential aggressors of the lesson now taught in every former Imperial Academy. The Galactic Empire was warned. Earth doesn't give second chances. The phrase has transformed from a simple statement to a philosophical principle that undergirds the new interstellar order. In the distance, a new vessel emerges from the Mars shipyards. The Horizon, Earth's first long-range exploration ship designed to venture beyond known space. Its mission represents humanity's shift from defensive survival to confident exploration. Its multicultural crew includes representatives from 8 species, a living embodiment of the cooperative's founding principle that diversity breeds strength. In mere years, humanity has risen from planetary confinement to become a galactic power through a crucible that should have destroyed them. And as newly commissioned starships depart Earth daily toward unexplored regions of the galaxy, it becomes clear to all observers that this remarkable species has only just begun their cosmic journey. Mira, now 13 years old, watches from a school trip to Harmony Station as the Empress signs the charter. 5 years ago, she had clutched her mother's hand watching New Zealand burn. Today, she wears a training uniform with the Cooperative Academy insignia. The first class of a new generation who will grow up knowing the stars are within reach. "We've come so far," her teacher murmurs. "No," Mira responds, eyes fixed on the vast galaxy beyond the viewport. "We've only just begun."